This is the Masterbuilt Gravity Series 800, fully assembled. You see I got the instructions here. We're gonna throw them out of the way because today I'm gonna show you exactly what it takes to put this grill together, step by step. Yes, you could follow those instructions, but coming from an engineer, there are a few steps that I did a little bit out of order because I felt that they made more sense. Enough talking, let's get this damn thing put together. What I like to do first is I like to take this lid off. You basically cut the straps off and pull this straight off the top, and you'll see why here in just a moment. I like to set this off to the side so as I start to remove the pieces, the styrofoam, the plastic, the cardboard, I basically have a big trash can to throw all of that in so I'm not making a mess all over my driveway or my yard or my garage. So let's just start doing that. Also, what I recommend is getting yourself a blanket or doing this near your yard by the grass so that as you take the components out of the box, you can set them off to the side, you can separate them out, and they're not gonna get damaged. So what you'll see here is I'm just gonna start unloading all of this entire box off to the side. So some of the components are actually deep into the grill, so you need to open up the lid and get the rest of them out. Wow. There we go. For this assembly, you've got the instructions. You've got a 19mm and a 10mm socket, a crescent wrench, and a Phillips screwdriver. I also have my impact with a Phillips head in it for some simplicity. So the first step that you're gonna have to do is you're gonna put the latch on, because the next step we're gonna need to flip this over, and we don't want that hopper door flopping all over the place. Get yourself 4 Ds and your latch, let's rock and roll. Now you'll see that I have my impact here. I'm gonna start the screws with the screwdriver just so I don't strip anything out. And then from there, I will be using my impact to tighten things down. This part before was a pain too. Looks good to me. Step 2, you're gonna need a friend because we need to flip this thing over onto its top. I have my cameraman come over here. We're gonna get this thing flipped over. So it's time to start putting the legs on. These are steps 3 through 5. You're gonna notice that the legs closest to the hopper have these little areas that kick out. Those are where the wheels are gonna go. Now to differentiate between the front and the back, because these aren't labeled, the back side has this sticker here, and the front side has this little chrome knob sticking out. So just make sure that when you're orienting these, that the sticker goes towards the back of the smoker, the knob goes to the front. Let's do it. For these steps 3 through 5, you're gonna be using 3 A's for each leg. Now Masterbuilt does note not to tighten them completely at this point, and that's because we're gonna be putting that front placard on, and we wanna make sure that we can get that in there right. All right, so when you're going to add the legs to the opposite side, so the shelf side, you're gonna notice that they look pretty similar. You've got one though, that towards the bottom where it attaches to the grill, only has 1 hole on the side, whereas the other one has 2. The one with 2 goes on the back, the one with 1 goes on the front. Now you're gonna notice that I installed all 4 legs, but the instructions tell you to leave one of them off while you're installing the next components. Likely, you might be doing this by yourself, and the next few components might be more difficult to do with only 3 legs attached. So for simplicity, I've attached all of them. I left them a little bit loose so that I can get these in. Let's do it. You need a handful of A's and B's, and I'm gonna show you. We've got this cross member that goes across the back. You'll see there are 2 holes on each side. They line up with the back legs. You've got your Gravity Series placard that goes on the front. 2 holes on each side, use A's and B's. And then we have this little accessory hook over here. This goes onto the side, we'll show you where, and it also uses 4 A's and 4 B's. Let's get it done. And now I'm just going to hand tighten these components at this time until we get all of them on, then we'll tighten everything at once. As you can see, I'm putting the screw in from this side. That gives me room so that I can use my screwdriver and then use my socket wrench on this side. Now remember, your grill is upside down. Don't install the placard upside down. You can see that they bring these to a 45 here. It lines up with the front legs, and this basically just drops in place. Because we have all 4 legs on, you're gonna slide this side in first, and then it'll just drop right into place. Like I said, you don't need to only put 3 legs on. You could do all 4 at once, just leave them a little loose. We've got some A's and B's that we have to put on this one, then we're gonna go through and tighten everything up. Now for the B's, they don't give you any wrenches or anything that fit this. I'll tell you it's a 10 millimeter. I got myself a socket wrench just to speed things up a little bit. Step 8, we're gonna install the gasket with 2 A's, and the 2 A's are gonna go towards the grill side, and you don't want to tighten these all the way, because you're gonna be using this to attach the bottom of the hopper assembly. So just get them in there just enough to stay in place, like so. 9 is gonna be to attach the bottom of the hopper and the ash clean out as well as the fan. There's a bunch of steps, but the very first one, remove that ash clean out door, set it off to the side. You need to bend this piece of metal, and it's actually not even bending it. They have it on hinges now. You're just gonna move it just like so. Now you're gonna place this and slide it underneath those 2 screws that you just put in there. Just like so. Now it's gonna take 4 more A's that go into place here. Now the gasket may have shifted, but you'll see that there's little punch outs on that gasket for these next holes. Just go ahead and use those. Step 11, we're gonna be installing this with this pointing towards the hopper, and you're gonna push it through just like this. It's got some tabs that line up, and we've got 4 A's and 4 B's that are gonna lock it into place. 12 and 13 is all about wiring. You've got your door switch, you've got your hopper lid switch. Both of these go right through this hole, just like so. Both of those go through the body. You also have another one for the fan, and they all connect down in here. You've got your black and red, you've got a black and red. We're gonna make these connections. And these are your two limit switches or door switches. And those are in place. Steps 14 and 15 is all about wheels. Get your wheels, get your axle, get over to the grill. You're gonna start out with your rod. We're gonna use this end to go towards the front of the grill. You're gonna take this, insert it in like so. You're going to slide one washer on. Slide this through. Then, going to take this other sleeve, push that through. Then we want washer, wheel, washer, then nut. It's time to tighten the axle. Get yourself a crescent wrench, and I'm using a 19mm socket. You could also use another wrench. And there's a notch that's actually cut into the axle that allows you to slip a wrench on there. You don't need this thing to be super tight, but we are gonna tighten it down so that the wheels are in place and stay in place. Don't wobble too much. Next step is your casters. Go ahead and get them started. They give you a wrench here. You can just tighten that down. Just like so, and do the other to the other side. Next step is to install the heat shields. That hopper during operation is going to get super hot, so they provide 2 heat shields to help protect you and anyone around the grill. Now 51 only has one cutout. As you can see, 46 has 2. 46 goes on the back. We're focusing on the front now with the 51. There are 2 screws already in place. You need to remove these screws. That one's a little snug. You're gonna loosen this so that you get a nice little gap behind there. And you can see here you've got notches. You need to slide this behind the top heat shield. And you need to line this up so this actually goes through like that. And you need this entire heat shield to line up and slide behind the existing heat shield, just like so. You can see it slid down in there nicely, and then you're gonna go in and tighten these back up, and then we're also gonna add a couple more screws. You're gonna take a couple Ds. You've got one that goes up here by the ash cleanout sensor. It's already pre-tapped, so you just have to line up these holes and get that screw in place. There's also one here where this heat shield attaches to the leg, and we're just gonna line that up and get that screw in as well. 46 is going to be the same way. You need to loosen those screws. And then you're going to slide this heat shield right down inside just like the previous one. Get another one of those Ds, get it started. This is where having big hands can be problematic. A lot of places to drop these screws. Step 17, we're gonna start by adding the Wi-Fi antenna. You can see that it's threaded here and it goes right on the back side of the controller. It helps if you straighten out the antenna, you'll see that it is hinged to a 90-degree angle, and that allows you to do that. The next step is this bracket. It goes on the back side of the shelf like so, using 2 Fs and 2 Bs. Now I will say that the assembly is better than it was on the 560. They've cleaned up a lot of these steps. These steps early on were later on after you flip the grill over, and now you're laying on the ground doing this. We're still upside down, which is nice. The next step is to install the accessory hangers. That's gonna go right on the front. You're gonna be using some A's, these knobs, and these accessory hooks. And then we'll go like that. And we'll do that for the rest of them. So the actual shelf itself is supposed to go on while this is flipped upside down according to the instructions, but we're not gonna do that. So they have a couple holes here, similar to like you hang a picture, where you got the larger you can slide it on and then it hangs down and holds in place. You're not gonna be able to utilize that upside down. So what we're gonna do is I'm gonna install 2 of the screws like this. It's gonna be the 2 top ones. Like this. And then we're gonna flip this over and do the rest of the assembly. This lid is gonna open and we're gonna go this way. So we're gonna grab it here and underneath. All right, let's tip it a little bit. 1, 2, 3. All right. So now that we've flipped it over, you can see we can just line these holes up with the screws that we just put on before we flipped it over. Now the shelf is in place, I can crawl underneath and do the rest of the steps. And we might as well tighten these while we're here too. This here is for the inside thermocouple. It just plugs right in underneath. You can see one prong is smaller than the other, and you'll see that the port that you plug this in is the same way. This is for your power cord, and this is for the rest of the accessories here. You'll see each pair has got a male and a female connector. They just snap into place like so. You know, just looking at this, they have made some heck of improvements on this 800 from the 560. This firebox grate, this is what holds the charcoal in place as it burns. They've made some serious improvements to that. Now, when we go to insert it, we want this lip facing down. And this right here is where your fire starter is going to sit. So you'll slide that in, you'll be able to access it from below and light it. And there are some tracks, and you just slide that right into place. Then you've got your ash clean out or your ash catcher that goes in right like so. Then you've got your door to the ash clean out that we took off earlier, and you're just gonna drop that back down into the hinges like so. And then you'll see that this just swoops around, locks in place. Step 23, these are to control the airflow. Now mind you, you're not gonna be making any micro adjustments with this. This is to open and close off completely. The purpose for this is when you go to shut it down, we make everything airtight and we choke out the fire. When this grill is in operation, you will pull these slides out. Now remember, the large one goes on the top, and you'll see it slides in just like so, and the bottom will do the same. Next step is to install the knob. You didn't want to install this any sooner, you might have broke it off while we were flipping the grill around. And you can just go hand tight with that. Now it's time to put the handle on. So we're gonna open up the grill here. You've got your handle, you've got these fancy little cups. You're gonna put that in like so. And the handle itself is gonna sit just about like that. Then you've got this nipple-shaped washer that's going to go in underneath. And get your Phillips screwdriver. And we're gonna tighten that down. While we've got this open, we've got our thermometer. Take the wing nut off and the washer. You'll see on the front of the grill, there's a secondary hole, and there's this little nub that helps you line that up. So you'll just put that in and twist it till you feel it lock. And you'll come underneath with your washer and your wing nut. And get that thing tight. Step 27, you got 2Ds and you've got this bracket. You're gonna see the larger cutout is gonna go towards the shelf, or the controller over there, and this is just gonna sit like so. Take your Phillips screwdriver and these Ds, Next step, we've got the grease tray and the clean out. And it's gonna slide in here just like a drawer. That makes for easy clean out. Step number 29, we need to put this manifold assembly or bracket down inside. We had this bracket with these holes here that we lined up. We can use that here to go right in place just like so. There you go. So when you put that manifold bracket in, there's actually 2 screws that we line up, like I showed you on that bracket. You actually have to tighten those, which means you have to pull that grease tray back out. And from underneath, Phillips screwdriver, and that'll just tighten that manifold down into place. Then you can pull your grease tray back in and put your clean out back in place. Step 30, we're installing that front shelf. As you can see, we've got those same cutouts there, so we're gonna install the top 2 screws first so that we can slide this in place before we install the second 2. It's gonna use 4A's. Now that we've got that in place, we'll take the other 2 screws, we'll install them from below. One-hand operation. All right, so step 31, we're installing the shelves. Now, you may notice in the assembly instructions that there are 2 sets of instructions for the last couple steps. The manifold is a different setup if you're using the griddle, and you won't be putting these racks in if you're using the griddle. Now, I'm setting mine up as the grill format now. Later on, we'll talk about the griddle in another video. These grates themselves have 2 sides. One side is labeled smoke, one side is labeled sear. You can see you've got wide, flat, versus narrow point. I'm gonna leave these on the smoke side and place them down inside. Now, one of my viewers mentioned that what he would do, like for searing steaks, he would leave one side on smoke and the other side on sear so that he could smoke over here, then crank the temperature up and then put them on this side to sear. But I'm gonna be doing a lot more smoking right now, so I'm just gonna leave those both on the smoke side. Now you've got your middle and your upper shelves, and they are just gonna slide into place like so. And there you have it, the Masterbuilt Gravity Series 800. Now I'm gonna be doing a series of videos about this. This is just the assembly. My next video is going to be a burn-in and seasoning, and we're gonna do a complete walk-around overview of this grill. We're also going to compare this to the Char-Griller Gravity 980, the closest competition to the Masterbuilt Gravity Series. So be sure to subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video at Anderson Smoke Show.